Narrative of Self of Great Ape is produced by a feedback loop between separate self and cosmos, which causes one to think without realizing that one is thinking due to a sense of authorship, a sense of self. What system or process authors and owns thoughts and emotions? One doesn't own emotion, and when one is owned by emotion, it's a reflection of one's belief, in turn perception that one owns them. The narrative is a mechanism rooted in rationalization. My story, told by me, to me. It in turn takes on a life of its own, informing my perceptions and vice versa. Not acting like my narrative is subjective and fallible would be egotism and only leads me to being possessed by it. After repeatedly experiencing the true nature of the narrative as a mechanism of subjective rationalization, it is increasingly disembodied. The egoic narrative of self creates highs and lows as the subjective story unfolds. It amplifies and distorts our emotions and perceptions as they take a hold of us and take on a life of their own. Outside factor response. When we are owned by emotions, it's a reflection of our belief that we own them due to the narrative. In embodying the narrative of self, we encounter manifestations, including self-talk, extension of the half-life of emotions, and bodily tension. Intrinsically tied together, the narrative of self doesn't occur without the narrative of other. A person's perception of other is tantamount to the egotistical projection of their subjective narrative. Judgment, in turn acceptance, are fallacies because a person is informed and functions under a unique gold standard birthed amongst varying blends of cultures and religions, not a vacuum. The pressure and critique a person puts on others, and themselves for that matter, arise from a uniquely refined gold standard, i.e. narrative. This leads to manifestations like prejudgment, defensiveness, social anxiety, and a distorted sense of worthiness. A person cannot feel shame, pride, inferior or superior without the narrative imparting it. By experiencing the true nature of the narrative as a mechanism of subjective rationalization, through a regular use of a mantra or a meditation practice, one can increasingly disembody the narrative. And by doing so, one will experience a shift in one's emotions half-life, bodily tension, defensiveness, and one's empathy. Being present is not I being mindful of the present moment. Instead, it is functioning from the perspective that conscious awareness arises in the present moment without a center. There is no center behind one's eyes. They are only sensory organs, and there is only conscious awareness. Conscious awareness is unobservable because there is no separate self to do the observing. Rather, conscious awareness is a feature of the cosmos. In turn, one does not experience self-transcendence. The illusion of self only dissipates. Discontentment is born from the perception that one autonomously works toward desires one owns, including the desire of being present. In being present, the illusion of the feedback loop that is the narrative becomes evident, and one awakens from playing the impassioned protagonist of the narrative of self. Of bodily tension, which mostly goes unrecognized, falls away from one's face, shoulders, and stomach, revealing the narrowed scope brought on by the subjective narrative of self. One's subjective narrative of self can be disembodied when one functions from the perspective that conscious awareness is a feature of the cosmos, which is presently arising without a center.
From conception till death, we perpetually fly through space so large a brain can't conceive it even with the help of analogies. All the while the weightiness of our narrative bogs us down in an air of seriousness. Caught up playing the protagonist in one's engrossing and ensnaring subjective narrative, unable to escape the ceaseless stream of thoughts, blinding one to one's present cosmic and biological reality, and veiling the contradictory yet interdependent nature of holding our subjective narrative as superior, all the while harboring a desire for worthiness. We are the dominant species amongst a plethora of fauna and flora blanketing and arising from a glorified rock birthed in unison and bound to a star, the sun. Blind to 99.65% of the light spectrum, our eyes, through a small focal point, provide a one-shot take of life. Unmindful of the present reality of being a Homo sapien, so bound to one's narrative self to see the uniformity of human behavior. One's personal biological and environmental factors. Numb to the sensation of eye movement, breathing, and bodily tension. Taking our biological and homeostasis for granted, oblivious of the internal biological universe facilitating millions of biological processes occurring in 8 billion other humans, along with trillions of other fauna. Desensitized to our blessings, we don't bat an eye in the face of mind-blowing human-designed cities, infrastructure, tech, and art. As we hold ethnocentric views from those in uncontacted villages, Middle America, to those entrenched in culture wars, we simultaneously are prisoners of the present, unaware of our place in our own timelines and of our mortality. Self and other are inkblot tests, mirroring one subjective narrative. Falling prey to cognitive bias, we are averse to other perspectives, unconcerned and uninvested in another's experiences. In particular, we're unmindful of the seemingly contradictory objective narrative as superior, all the while harboring a desire for worthiness, for validation. The ownership and internalization of one's, creating a spectrum of hubris, defensive behaviors, and self-doubt that doesn't align. Awareness of our blind spots and its contradictory nature exposes the constant tension-filled nature of our narrative of self.
Today we're gonna do some ASMR. Nah, we ain't doing that over here. Nah. If you need to get soothing for some sounds, you need to go do drugs like the rest of us. I'm just kidding. It's all love. What's up? My name is Abel Seifu. I'm here to share my takeaways from the perspective of non-duality and bring non-duality down to earth. Today I just want to share a little bit of my backstory, my approach, and we'll end with a little engaging meditation and breathing technique. All right. Today, let me start with the elephant in the room, non-duality. Simply put, non-duality is not two. Duality. In other words, oneness. What interests me the most with non-duality is the implications it has on self. But what brought me here? What brought me to non-duality? Long story short, back in 2016, after years of being recommended to, I started to compile my notes on my perspectives on notes and things, jokes, etc. on a Word document. And after sifting the notes through writing a short piece, the desire for worthiness as an inherent trait brought on by evolution unveiled itself. This led me to practicing mindfulness through the lens of heart determinism. And researching heart determinism and mindfulness, I came across Sam Harris's book, Waking Up, Alan Watts, and plenty of other contemporaries. Till this day, I still compile my notes and still do the same process of sifting, organizing my notes into short pieces, and making them into videos. My aim is to bring non-duality down to earth through stripping away the jargon which acts as barriers to entry. What's going on in the chat? I see some. Can't see this. Let's see here. Right, and approaching it non-dogmatically by not focusing on speaking about non-duality, but instead sticking to sharing takeaways from the perspective of non-duality that a person can experience for themselves. A lot of negativity in the chat. I guess that's to be expected. All right. Also, let's go ahead and end it off with a meditation and some breathing techniques. All right, we'll go ahead and get a mirror. It's time for the most engaging meditation and breath technique I've ever experienced. We'll do some mirror gazing meditation along with box breathing. As we look into our own gaze, we'll inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, then exhale for 4 seconds. Let me see. Right. We're going to start here. It's going to be inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 1, 2, 3, 4. Then slowly exhale through your mouth for 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Then slowly exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Then exhale 2, 3, 4. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold in 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold in 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. One more time. Let's breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold in your breath for 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale through your mouth for 1, 2, 3, 4. See what the chat. All right. Let's see. All right. Chat seems to be done. All right. Well, that's it for today. I just wanted to give a little backstory, give an idea of my approach and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Hope you had a good time. I had a good time. And that's pretty much it for today.